Okay, welcome to another video. This is my next video about some cosplay upgrades that I've been doing. I've got into this little hype at the moment of really going to town on some of my cosplays, and it's stuff I wanted to do for years and I just haven't got around to doing it, or just had the excuse that, you know, I'm just too busy. But I've got a Star-Lord cosplay that I love to wear, and I have the blasters. These are actually the Hasbro Star-Lord quad Nerf gun blasters, which are actually really good. They're quite expensive, you can't get hold of them anymore. So I've had these for a couple of years now. I only really cosplay with one of them because I've never really had the holsters, which I'm going to be working on another video, because I've had the holsters 3D printed. Now let's have a look how this would go, which is for another video clearly. But yeah, the holsters, they do fit. It's the first time I've checked that they fit. So I'm going to be doing another video on the holsters, getting them sorted onto my trousers that I use. They're actually motorbike trousers, but I've only ever really had a little bit of Velcro that I've wrapped around and just put through my belt. But I don't really like that idea. I've always wanted to have these sort of, but again, I've always gone around with them looking like this. Now they are expensive, and I would say to someone, if you want to buy these as they don't really work very well as Nerf guns anyway, but if you want to buy these to keep in mint condition, if they're not in the box, and keep like this, keep like this. But what I've decided to do is this. So this is my other one. This is what I've been working on the last couple of days. Actually, it's taken about 3 or 4 days to get this looking like this. Okay, there's still orange in there, but if I go to cons, then I can say, you know, there's orange. But I love what I've done here. Look at the detailing on that. I don't know if you can see there. Is that coming out? Hopefully it is. But yeah, so pleased with this. I didn't record this because if I completely messed it up, I didn't want to have, well, I didn't want to have evidence of me messing this up. But what I am going to do is make this one look like this one. So that is my mission, and that's also my thumbnail. I'll wager my thumbnail. So I'm not going to explain now what I've done to this, but you can see there is a huge difference, and I'm going to go through this video and show you exactly what I did with this as I do it to this. So stick around. This video is going to be probably a bit lengthy, so I'll try and leave a chapter in the description so you go to whatever part you want to go to, and you'll be surprised at what I used to paint this. It wasn't all just spray paint. I didn't spray paint this, and there's a good reason why coming up very shortly. So stick around. Hope you enjoy this video. Got any questions, leave them in the comments down below, and let's get into this right now. Okay, so here we are. I've been waiting a while for this video. I had to wait for some stuff to turn up to get started on the second part. Here's the first one. Here's the one I did before. Looks pretty good. I like the scoring. It's not too bad. I love it. I've got to admit, I do really like it. And the way I painted this is actually really quite effective, because I didn't use, on the main body, I didn't use any sprays. Now, the reasons why I didn't use any sprays is because the detailing on the handle I liked. The problem is if I had to spray the main part of this, I would have had to have gone with some primer and then paint, maybe a couple of coats of paint, and you'd lose all this detail. And I wanted to use my rub and buff, which I'll show you later how I did it, to just bring out some of that finer detail there, so you can see that. Can you see that in the light there? Yeah, I like that. So what I did is I actually sat down one night and just picked up a paint pen, funny enough. Weirdly enough, picked up a paint pen and just started scribbling on it, and yeah, made it look pretty good, I think. So it's just a black acrylic paint pen, and it's actually really effective. It didn't take very long at all. Probably took about maybe an hour to go over it with one of these things, and I liked it. So this is the first thing you'll need to do, because to get to those areas, here is my current one that I'm about to sort out. You need to take this off and this off. I didn't bother with the backs. These bits here, I actually coloured them on this with the paint pen without taking them off, because you can get enough paint in and under the side there without seeing any of the orange. So I just left these on. So you're going to have to take these off. Now there's 4 screws in each, top and bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4. Some of them are longer than others, so beware. In the top, I think there are 2 longer ones, 2 short ones on the end. And in the bottom, there's 1 long one and 3 short ones. So just be wary of that. There's also a pin in the bottom one that holds onto one of the arms. So when you take this off, don't lose that, whatever you do. And let me show you that now, because these aren't actually on. So if I just pop this, hopefully, I can just pop it off and show you. There's one there, because the screws aren't in, I've taken them off already. There's the second one. So you've got the arms there that control the mechanism, if you like. And I'm keeping all that mechanism, I like it. And in the bottom, let me take this off carefully down here so I don't lose the bloody pin. The pin, if you can see, is just in there. Holds on to this arm here. It goes through both of these plastic bits. So you need to take that out nice and gently and it will come off and it's in there. I hope you can see that. Keep that separate, keep it away, because we're going to be painting these. Now there is a problem with these, because on here, you all right, baby? Hang on, I'll pause this, hang on. Sorry, that was my boy. He comes first, by the way. So on these here, you've got these, they're like, it's like a decal, but it's kind of ingrained into the, I don't know how they've done it. It's some kind of proper on there. You can't scrape it off. And it won't come off with like rubbing any kind of stuff. I don't know, you might be able to use some alcohol, get it off, I don't know. But what I did do is just take a little bit of sandpaper, 400 grit, and just took those off on the other side there, just to show you what I've done. Only because on this one, you can't see it because I've weathered it really well, but when the paint went on it, and that's all the layers of paint, for some strange reason, it did a funny raised thing. I don't know, I don't even know how to explain it, but you can't see it on there, but there's kind of a texture that I don't like. So hopefully this time that won't happen. Now I've taken these decals off, because these 4 pieces are now going to go down the shed and get a primer undercoat of grey, both sides, inside and out, because I'm not going to be painting inside, but they'll look pretty good grey inside rather than showing too much of the orange. And I can weather just inside, like I've done with these here. I can weather just inside them. I don't know if you can see, I get an angle on that. I've weathered just inside there, so it looks pretty good. I didn't do the orange inside the thing, maybe because my pen wouldn't reach too far down there, but I'm not too worried about having that. You can't really see it when you're looking at it. So yeah, so I'm going to take these down in a second, give them an undercoat of primer. But what I wanted to show you is on this one here, this is the one I'm going to be doing. You'll see I've got some gold and silver just there. I have actually got gold and silver paint pens too. And you can see I've done that on there. How shiny the gold and the silver is. I don't even quite see that. But also, as a quick surprise, I've done half of this gun already. So I'm going to show you how I did this. This is literally just painting with the black pen all over, including the top. You can see the difference there. Look. I just did literally half. So all of this with the paint pen, all this, including the trigger. There will be a little bit of orange left over, I'm not too worried about that. And then before I get to do any kind of highlights or weathering, I'll come back and show you the next step. So these are going to get painted now, and the rest of this is going to be painted black. And then we'll get on to the highlights with some silver stuff, and then the weathering part. We're going to do some rub and buff. Love rub and buff. You know I do. Okay, so you can see on here I've actually already done half of the gold and silver is kind of shiny. If you look at the difference between that and that, how different that looks. It's a really nice effect actually. And I like to keep that clean. So on this one, although it's all weathered all over, these areas I just wanted to keep nice and clean. I just wanted to have that kind of nice contrast between, you know, the dirty and the clean part of the gun. Especially when you do that, it looks pretty cool. Let's get into this. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Right, let's do this. Okay, so I need to spray these up. So what I've done, got a couple of boxes. These are little boxes, funny enough. A couple of holes in the top. I've used little bits of cotton just to dangle these, and they are going to get taken down a shed and worked on with a bit of primer. That's it. Don't make it difficult for yourself. Make it really simple. And this is going to be fun. when I get back down after I spray these up, I'm going to start working on the gun, the black. And that's the easy bit. Just need a bit of patience. Let's do this. Okay, so while the black is drying on the gun, I'm going to go down the garden and check on the undercoat, on the outer bits, and give them a quick spray up of the silver I've got, because their undercoat's going to be silver. Just on the outside, don't need to do the inside, but then we go down and sort that out. Okay, so now it's painted up and it's dry. That's the important thing, is give it enough time to dry. Some of these paint pens, they do take some time, and the ones I've got and the ones in the description here, which I think are better than my original ones, actually does take a good amount of time to dry. This is going to need a coat of lacquer at some point, which is why you see I've done a bit of masking on the areas that have got moving parts that I want, because I want to keep the mechanism. So before I do that, before I spray this up and give it a final finish, I need to do a couple of things. Like on this one, I need to get the silver paint pen out and do some silver bits and pieces here and there. A bit more silver here and there. The weathering is going to be done with rub and buff, but all of the areas you see up in here, I actually initially done that with silver paint pens to give it a more permanent effect. And once I've done that, I'll then give it a coat of lacquer. So let's do that. Okay, so as you can see, I've done the weathering on this section. I want to keep this section pretty clean, so I'm not going to do anything to these, but I like it. You see how the kind of effect comes out? I don't know if you can quite catch that in the light. The effect comes out a bit better when you dry brush some of the rub and buff over that. Just brings out that texture a little bit more. Just get a really dry brush, wipe it all off, and then go over it, and it just brings out that little bit of texture. Love it. Probably see it more that side. Probably done a bit more that side. But yeah, I'm really pleased with that. Really pleased. So I'm going to go and quickly give this a coat of the clear lacquer just to close it all off, because the rub and buff will come off in your hands when you're holding it, especially if it gets sweaty and hot, that kind of stuff. So it needs to be all closed up, and then I can work on the two top and bottom pieces. Which what I'll actually do with those, actually put them back on this, mask all of this out and just have the top bits, because it's going to be easier to paint that way when they're together. Otherwise you get an inconsistency between the sides, because they're off at the moment. So let's do that. Woohoo! Okay, next day. We are at the stage, take your time with this. Honestly, it will do you favours if you just take your time, because everything can dry properly and all be sorted. This is now finished, and I now have these back. They're not stuck together, I've just put them together. And well, I've sprayed that and not covered the holes. There's a little bit of paint gone in the holes, but I'm not fussed about that. It means it's going to stay together really nicely. So what I now need to do, and the funny part about this is I want to put these back on here to do the rest of what I need to do. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is because with these together painted, you're going to get a more consistent paint effect over both of them. If I leave them off, you're going to struggle to try and get the same effect. I could screw them together here and paint them, but these need to be covered in the what's called the finish too. So you might get, if I screw in these now and paint over it and do all that kind of stuff, you may get a bit of paint in onto screws and have difficulty getting them back off to put them back onto here. So what I need to do is take all these off now, because I don't need these anymore. These can come off. Screw it all back together, and then I need to mask out all of this. And I can do that easy with a bit of masking tape and quite a bit of kitchen roll, where I don't need to use so much masking tape, because you don't want to put too much masking tape over all this. And then I've got a couple of things to do to this. So when I get to that stage, I'll come back and then explain what I've got to do. So let's sort this out now. Let's do that. Okay, so there you have it. The main part that has already been finished, because it doesn't need to be touched again, is now completely covered, and this is ready for spraying. But before I spray, I'm only going to be spraying this top area. Now, I'm going to be using a little trick I've used in other videos, like for my proton pack, where this bit's going to be black, but some of it I want to show through. I can't show them because I've got it with me, but I want to show through, so I'm going to be using toothpaste. You haven't seen that method before. You can use like a masking putty, which is really quite expensive, I understand. So toothpaste is a really good option for those who may be on a budget, and it does exactly the same thing. So the idea of this is I want the silver to shine through underneath the black in certain places, like a scratched effect. So this is like the first part of my weathering technique. So this in the film, this whole area up the top here is black, like the rest of the gun. But I don't want to just have it just black, so I want it kind of weathered, kind of worked on. It's been thrown about a bit, so I want this to have kind of scrapes and scratches. The scrapes areas, or the chipping areas, I'm going to do with this technique, and the scratches I'll do with the rub and buff later. But there's a few things I need to do now. One, I need to cover up all of this area, because I don't want that to be affected at all, and get some toothpaste on this area to mask it off, so I can wipe it off later. Once I've sprayed it black, I'm going to do that. Okay, I've got it nice and covered up with just the top and bottom showing. Look, there might be a little bit of an issue there. Let me get a bit of tape in there. Although it is black, it's going to be sprayed onto this. I don't want it to go underneath, onto the layer underneath. Let's just make sure that's covered up. Do a good job of your masking, you won't have any trouble painting. That's always going to be the way. We'll do this side too. Just underneath there. Let's get that and poke it underneath there like that. Awesome. Okay. So the good thing about having to use kitchen rolls, I don't have to use so much masking tape, but you want to tape it up in areas that potentially are going to have bits and pieces going through. So I now have it all taped up in there. When I spray at an angle, it's not going to go inside there, I'm going to spray in black on this, so it doesn't matter too much. But what I want to show you now, if I can, is what I do with the toothpaste. Now, in this case, I want the area to show through up here. So I don't want toothpaste at this end. What I want to do is gradually lose it. So it's like really thick at this end, and then kind of lose it into like it's been scraped across the top, and just have the black at the top here. So I'm just going to use my fingers for this. I'm not going to be too overly worried about what goes where and stuff like that. So I've just got a lot of toothpaste over that bit there, and just gradually gets thinner and thinner as it comes up the top here. And that's all it's going to take. Maybe a little bit along the sides to get a little bit more, and just poke a little bit along the sides there just to give it a scraped effect along the sides. Maybe a tiny bit on there, maybe potentially, and on the other side just going up. But the main effect is going to be at that end. That's the kind of point with this. Now it's going to be tricky to do this and hold it while I toothpaste this bit, then put it on my chin. And it's going to be the same effect on this side. So just all up the top there, and then I want to smooth it in. Probably going to need more on this one because it's slightly longer. So let's get some more toothpaste and do it this way. So all along there, smooth it in, take some back if you have to, and I want it just smooth in. So take it back if it's too much, and where the toothpaste goes, the paint won't. What I do want to do is toothpaste in these little areas here. You probably can't see it there, but these areas I want to be get some more toothpaste out of there. These areas I definitely want to be masked out. So I'm going to go along the bottom here, just add a few areas where I want toothpaste to be, and grab some more toothpaste and just mask out this little area here. I don't want any paint to go inside that little area. And that's it really. Put a bit on there, boom. Not overdone. This paint's going to get to the places I want it to get to and be masked from places I don't. It's going to look like a scraped effect, so it looks like it's going to be like proper scraped on. I'm going to go down and paint this black. I'm not going to show you that bit because it's going to get really messy. I need both hands. But just spray paint this black and then leave it for half a day. I'll get it back out tonight and have a look, and then show you what happens when I take off the toothpaste. Really effective way of getting chips in your paint. If you've got an undercoat of a lighter colour or even a darker colour, it doesn't really matter. If you want the undercolour to shine through, this is the way to do it. It's pretty simple, pretty awesome, and it's a very, very well effective method of weathering. You might have seen on my Proton Pack, I've done a similar thing on my Proton Pack and on the stand that it comes to. So if you haven't seen those videos, definitely worth a watch. Go back and have a look. Right, I'm going to go quickly spray these up. See you in a bit. Okay. Moment of truth. This is the next day. I've left this for pretty much overnight and most of the day yesterday. So the black is nice and dry. But we need to take the toothpaste off. But remember, before you take the toothpaste off, to leave on all of the masking tape. Don't take that off, because and this is I've done this myself. The toothpaste has now got black paint in it, and that's not set. The whole idea is you're going to take that off, right? So if you take the mask off and you smudge the black toothpaste all over the rest of your gun, you're going to get black in places you don't want it. So leave the mask on before you take it off, and then just simply wipe it off. Now there was a lot of toothpaste on there. Just wipe it down like so. Get as much off as you can with one cloth, and I've got a little wet cloth here as well to wipe it. Get all the toothpaste off. You see the toothpaste is going to smudge through there, and that little bit we put on there as well. Okay, nice. I like that. Let's get this side off. A lot more down here. Okay, let's just move that to one side a second and get another piece. Give that a good wipe. get that off of there. You alright, baby? What's up? And the other side too. Just a little damp cloth just to get the excess of the toothpaste off. Might need to make that a bit wetter again. Bit wetter again. How about that? Okay, and don't forget the weathering on this haven't finished yet. I've got a lot more to do, which I'm going to do now, and then it needs to be sealed with some clear lacquer. So I like that. There's still a bit of toothpaste on there. I'll get another wet cloth in a second, get that all off, dry it up, and then yeah, I like that. Then we'll take the mask off just for these two areas, leave the rest of the gun intact in terms of the mask, because we're going to need to then spray just these areas again with the final coat. We don't want to redo the final coat on the other areas. So just bear that in mind to leave the rest. Probably use that actually. You leave the rest of the gun still masked up. Just unmask this area. That's nice. I like that. Right, I'm going to get to unmasking it. And then look at the rest of the weathering techniques I've got. I'll be back with you in a second. And there we go. There we have it. Looks very plain at the moment. There's a few things we need to do to this. Now the first one is going to be, I'm going to get these areas sorted in terms of the blaster heat sink effect. I don't know what you call it. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that with a surprising kind of paint. I'm going to use paint pens on this, but I'm actually going to rub it into my finger first, then rub my finger over this. So we need a yellow, we need a red, then a blue, then I've got a light lilac which goes on the end, and then it won't look good at first, and I'll show you once I've done that bit. Once I've finished, I'll show you, and you'll be surprised how different it'll look once I then add the next stage of weathering. Let's do that. Okay, so here we have it. We have our yellow, red, blue, and lilac. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually paint this onto my finger first, make sure it's nice and wet, and then rub it onto the areas I want it. Now for this, it's going to be a graduated kind of colour change from yellow to red to blue to lilac at the end. And I don't want to make it look too uniform or obvious. These colours, by the way, are lighter than you think they're going to be. This is the darkest blue I've got. I don't have a darker blue. But when I do the weathering later with the chalkboard paint, because that's a big step for this whole area is going to get some chalkboard paint and weathered up. It will change. It will look different. So don't worry about how it looks at first. Let me get started. I'll show you what I mean. Let me angle the camera down so you can see what I'm doing. And that's my boy in the background playing. And I'm literally just going to put that on there and then rub it in to the silver there. Now you need to layer this up. It's going to take a bit of time. Take your time with this. And if you can see that's starting to get a little bit of a yellow shine. Now remember, the yellow is going to start around here, and then the red, blue, and then lilac. So you don't need to cover all this other area. You just need to cover the area that you're going to need. You can see it's getting a bit more yellow there. So I'm starting to build that yellow up. And the reason why I'm using my finger is because I can smudge it in properly rather than paint it on like this and then having to worry about where it's going. I can actually maneuver and put it where I want it. Smooth it in at the edges. So it's got to have that little look. Remember, these are going to be a lot lighter than they're going to be eventually, because there's going to be black paint being weathered over the top of this. So don't worry about how it looks. I'm going to get cracking with this. Go for a hyperlapse so you can see what I'm doing in quick time rather than watch me in real time. And then I'll come back to you once I've finished and show you what I've done. Okay, right. There we go. Doesn't look like much at the moment. Look at the difference. With weathering, that's going to look perfect. But before I do that, before I put the black wash on, which is going to be chalkboard paint, I need to get the scratches in this black area here over these bits to match the rest of the gun. So I'm going to use a little bit of rub and buff for that. Doesn't take a lot, just a little bit of dry brushing here and there, and that's pretty much done on both ends. So that'll look like the rest of the gun. And then the black wash, you see the difference here between the two silvers. We'll go over the top. And the reason why I'm doing this bit first is because if the gun gets dirty, it'll get dirty in the scratches, right? So you want to do the scratches first. That kind of makes more sense. Okay, so now for the rub and buff. And I'll do this live. Let's do this, not live, but you know what, on screen while we're here so you can see what I'm doing. I know this video is really long, guys and girls. I'm going to leave a chapter thing in the description so you can, you know, come back and go to wherever you need to go. Because I know this is going to be a really long video. I'm already at, like, I don't know, 20 odd minutes or something. I don't know. My paintbrush is a bit knackered. So with this, I don't know if you can see there, you only need a little touch and then brush it off. And then with this, all you need is this action. So I just want this top part. The reasons why I didn't do this before that is because I needed to hold all this area to paint that. And I don't want to be smudging the rub and buff, because once the rub and buff is on there, it will smudge. Let's put a little bit of scratches on top of there. Around the edges there. Get a little bit more. Rub it off. All around the edge. There. I hope you can see that. Looks really effective, and yeah, I mean, you don't need a lot of rub and buff for that. To be honest, I always use it more than I need. I always put more down than I actually need. Let's put you up so you can see me. So this is now ready for the next stage, and the final stage before we cover it with a sealant, which is going to be a matte clear what do you call it, sealant, matte clear something or other. Yeah, there we go, it's better. So we need now to get, I've got my sponge in there. We're going to sponge this with chalkboard paint. Now, did I get my chalkboard paint out? No, I didn't. So let me go away and get that. Ba-da! Chalkboard paint or blackboard paint, all the same stuff. And what I have here, if I can show you without spilling it, is a wooden spoon. I use that to dip into the pot and just get a little bit of the chalkboard paint out. And inside there, I don't know if you can see, a teeny bit of water. So I've got two consistencies here. I've got a watered down consistency, and then on the spoon I've got the full paint consistency. So I'm going to sponge that on. Right, let me show you what I'm going to do with this. So I've got my paint. How am I going to do this to show you? I want to show you this process. I've got my, you can just about see that, and my sponge. Okay, so what I want to do in this is layer this up. So first of all, get some of the watered down stuff, and then on here, you're just dabbing. Just dabbing. Look how that's going on. Dabbing, dabbing, dabbing. Dabbing, 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 dabbing. And underneath as well, so you want to get underneath. Dabbing, 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 dabbing. This is just the first layer, guys. Again, take your time with this. Then I'm going to show you on just this area. I'm going to use the rest of the sponge just to dab it off a bit. Take it back. But it's going to leave a black residue just ever so slightly there. See that? And you can already see this kind of layering up effect is starting to build up that dark area to make it look a bit like it should. Okay, then I'm going to get some, obviously I would do this all over first. I'm going to show you that I'm going to do a time lapse, because you don't want to watch me for half hour do this. And then get some of the actual paint off of the spoon there, or whatever you use to get actual paint, and then start using that over these areas It's a lot darker than underneath. And this is the other reasons why we're still covering up the rest of the gun, because we've already sealed the rest of the gun. It's all finished. We don't want to add this to that. Add this to that. And then sponge it through. You can use a cloth and wipe it, however you want to do it. I find the sponge works really well, because when I start then removing it, like almost, what's the word, where it's just not consistent. So it's a sort of random, removing it randomly. So it gives a better look, a better final look. And there you see it's already starting to weather really nicely. Look at that. On the front there we'll get a proper bit of just a black, because I want that to be completely black. But it's all about building it up. Blow on it, let it dry. Oh, always one of them. Blow on it, let it dry. And then keep building it and building it and building it. You get what I mean. Right, let's time lapse this and I'll show you over. It's probably going to take me a good half hour to do this. So let's get on it. So about noise and background, it's my boy playing with his toys. Look at that. Now I'm going to do is wait for this to dry, give it a final coat of lacquer, and that's it. Take all this off, and what you see now in a second is the final product. Let's go and do this. I'm going to leave this to dry when I put the lacquer on for a good few hours, so remember to leave it. Take your time. All this is about taking time. This is taking about 4 days to do this one, because I wanted to make sure it was perfect. Even better than this one. And I think it just might be. Let's have a look. Taking the masking tape off really is one of the most satisfying bits of this whole process. And there she is. Look at that. That is pretty damn good, if I say so myself. This whole process has been quite a long process. Got to take your time. This video is really long because it takes time, and I wanted to show you all the different bits of the process as detailed as I possibly can in case you want to do something similar. It doesn't necessarily just have to be with the Hasbro Quad Nerf Star-Lord blaster anyway. It could be with maybe a 3D printed version that you might have someone do for you, or you might print yourself, and you might want to do a similar kind of weathering system. Okay, a lot of this was done with paint pens. I realise that it's not the easiest or quickest way of doing what I've done on this. I could have maybe got one of those little spray things that you have for like model sprays and stuff like that. I'm not really into that. This was good enough for me. I like it. I kept the detail in the handle, and I now have 2 of these fantastic looking. Look at that. Really good looking, and they're not the same either, which is good. They're not exactly the same. I didn't want them to be the same, but they look brilliant. I've actually got an event on this weekend. I was gonna be a Ghostbuster, but I might just be Star-Lord now, just because I've got these sorted. But that does mean I have to get my holster, my 3D printed holsters sorted onto my trousers, which I haven't actually done yet. So yeah, I actually done more weathering on this than I think I did on that. Look at the difference in the weathering. I like what I did actually with the new one. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I hope you stuck with it. I know it's a long video. I don't like doing long videos. I prefer to keep them short. But I wanted to show you the whole process of what I did to get these where I got them to. And I hope you like the result. I do. I think it's pretty damn awesome. If you did, please whack a thumbs up. If you've got any comments or any questions, please leave them down below. Always happy to answer comments, and I always will answer comments, no matter what they are, even if it's just for me to reply and say thanks for watching. I'll always reply back to you. And if you haven't done so already and you want to subscribe, please do so. Hit the notification bell to get updates for all my uploads in the future. And until the next one, I'll see you boys and girls soon. Take care.